For most of human existence, the moon required nothing from us. It circled Earth faithfully, influencing tides and timekeeping, but never demanding interaction. It was present without obligation. Even as telescopes sharpened and maps improved, the moon remained abstract, a surface we could observe but not inhabit. Its closeness made it familiar, yet its hostility made it unreachable in any permanent sense. That psychological distance mattered. When humans first landed on the moon, the event did not erase that distance. It confirmed it. The visits were brief, carefully staged, and intentionally finite. The astronauts left behind instruments, footprints, and flags, not infrastructure. Everything about the missions communicated that humans did not belong there for long. The moon was treated as an achievement to be completed, not a place to be lived in. That framing persisted for decades. China's lunar base breaks with that framing entirely. What is happening now is not a return to the moon as a destination, but a redefinition of the moon as a system to be integrated into long-term planning. The difference is subtle, but it is foundational. Destinations are endpoints. Systems persist. Once something becomes part of a system, abandoning it stops being the default assumption. The moon is no longer being approached as a question. It is being approached as a constraint. Constraints change how decisions are made. They shape design choices, timelines, and acceptable risk. China's missions are not optimized for spectacle or speed. They are optimized for repeatability. Landing accuracy improves not to impress, but to reduce variance. Sample returns refine handling processes. Orbital relays reduce dependence on line-of-sight communication. Each step removes friction from the next. This accumulation is deliberate. A lunar base is not constructed in the way buildings on Earth are. There is no groundbreaking ceremony, no single moment when construction begins. Instead, components arrive separated by years. Capabilities precede structures. Knowledge arrives before permanence. By the time something is recognizable as a base, the work that made it inevitable has already been done. This makes the transition difficult to notice in real time. The moon itself does not change quickly. There is no weather to erode evidence, no vegetation to reclaim abandoned areas. Everything placed on the surface remains where it is, exposed, silent, and persistent. Tracks do not fade. Hardware does not disappear. History accumulates physically, not metaphorically. As missions increase, the lunar surface begins to show patterns. Not patterns visible from Earth, but operational ones. Preferred landing zones. Frequently traversed routes. Regions of interest revisited rather than rediscovered. The randomness of exploration slowly gives way to familiarity. And familiarity is the precursor to habitation. China's focus on the lunar South Pole accelerates this process. The region offers something rare in space: continuity. Sunlight that does not disappear entirely. Cold that preserves resources rather than destroying them. Geological stability measured in billions of years. These conditions allow systems to be designed around endurance instead of survival alone. Endurance changes the role of humans. When survival is the primary concern, humans are liabilities. They require protection, resources, and redundancy. When endurance becomes possible, humans become operators. They maintain systems. They adapt procedures. They solve problems locally instead of deferring them to Earth. The difference between these roles defines whether a presence is temporary or permanent. A lunar base assumes the latter. This assumption reshapes timelines. Missions no longer need to succeed perfectly. They only need to fail in recoverable ways. Broken equipment can be repaired. Delays can be absorbed. Errors can be learned from without ending the entire project. The moon becomes a place where mistakes do not automatically mean retreat. That is a profound shift. Once retreat is no longer the default response, planning extends outward. Systems are designed to interface with future systems that do not yet exist. Power grids anticipate expansion. Communication networks assume additional nodes. Surface mobility plans for destinations not yet prioritized. The base becomes a platform rather than a project. Platforms invite use. As use increases, dependence follows. Certain experiments make more sense on the moon than on Earth. Certain manufacturing processes benefit from low gravity. Certain observations are easier without atmosphere or seismic noise. Over time, these advantages accumulate until moving those activities back to Earth feels inefficient rather than prudent. This is how locations gain gravity without mass. China's lunar base does not need to claim territory to influence behavior. It only needs to function reliably. Reliability creates trust. Trust attracts activity. Activity generates momentum. And momentum, once established, resists reversal. The moon begins to matter not because of symbolism, but because of inconvenience. It becomes inconvenient not to have a presence there. As years pass, the base's relationship to Earth subtly changes. Supply chains shorten as local resources are incorporated. Decision-making authority shifts outward as response times demand autonomy. Cultural separation emerges, not through ideology, but through lived experience. People who spend extended time on the moon will perceive Earth differently, not as home versus away, but as one environment among others. This perception does not require conflict. It only requires distance combined with duration. Distance without duration is tourism. Duration without distance is routine. Together, they create divergence. Lunar operations will develop their own norms, priorities, and problem-solving cultures. None of this will be intentional. It will simply happen as a consequence of living and working somewhere long enough. The moon will still be hostile. Radiation will remain constant. Gravity will remain weak. The environment will never become forgiving. But hostility does not prevent habitation. It only raises the cost of neglect. Systems must be maintained. Procedures must be followed. Attention must be continuous. Continuous attention is the definition of permanence. China's lunar base represents the moment when such attention is no longer hypothetical. It is being budgeted for, planned around, designed into schedules that extend beyond individual missions and careers. The moon is being included in the future not as an aspiration, but as an assumption. Assumptions are powerful. They quietly define what futures are considered normal. Once a lunar presence is assumed, plans that exclude it begin to feel incomplete. Space exploration strategies without a lunar node start to look inefficient. The absence of infrastructure becomes the anomaly. None of this requires urgency. It unfolds at the pace of orbital mechanics, not headlines. Decades from now, historians may struggle to identify when the moon stopped being visited and started being inhabited. There will be no single marker, no declaration, no moment of consensus, just a gradual shift in language, logistics, and expectation. The moon will still look the same from Earth. A pale disk, craters, shadows, but functionally, it will be different. It will host continuity. And continuity, once established beyond Earth, changes the meaning of civilization itself. Not dramatically, not immediately, but permanently. And the most unsettling part is this. Nothing about this requires belief. It does not depend on optimism, ambition, or destiny. It only depends on follow-through, on doing the next logical thing after the previous one worked. on continuing because stopping would require a justification stronger than momentum. China's lunar base is no longer a concept because concepts can be abandoned without consequence.